one game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. It's gotta mean something to you. It gotta mean something. Everything you got. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2-3. 1, 2, 3. Finish.
Well, Dick, here's the deal. I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence, and nobody can hang with my stuff. You know, I'm just a big, hairy American winning machine. If you ain't first, you're last.
Welcome to Kicking It with Saint. I am your host, Saint. I appreciate you for kicking it with me for the next, I don't know, hour or so. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you're going to skip through it. See something. You're going to find what you're trying to find, then you're going to dip out. Maybe I'm going to say something that you don't agree with, and you're going to dip out. That's cool. While you're here, I appreciate you for being here. You could have been anywhere else in the world. You chose to stop by and kick it with your boy, and I appreciate that. Somebody just said that stuff. I don't even know this nigga. It's all right. It's all right. We got a lot of things to talk about, but we won't be talking about a lot of things outside of the Ravens in this here video tonight. First off, I hope you had a dope day, dope afternoon, dope night, whichever point in time you were checking me out and you were checking out this video. The NFL season. I haven't done, like, I done missed like 3 weeks worth of recaps and just a lot of videos that just haven't come out so far this season. And it's not because my team is ass right now. My team has, I feel like when you lose in the playoffs, that's a bigger L than having a losing season. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm conflicted on how I feel like I want the season to go. But nonetheless, we are here to talk about the Baltimore Ravens. I usually, I know it's a lot of football that I haven't talked about, that I got to get around to talking about. I get that if you're one of my regular viewers. But we got to talk about those Baltimore Ravens. We got to talk about it because the roof is falling for the fan base of the Baltimore Ravens. I say it all the time. Baltimore Raven fans annoy the shit out of me. It might be like this for a lot of fan bases where the fans of a fan base annoy fans of a fan base. I don't know if that made sense to you, but I say it all the time. Baltimore Raven fans annoy me. And now I'm really getting annoyed with Baltimore Ravens fans. I really do believe Baltimore Raven fans are spoiled. And I know a lot of people would say, a lot of Raven fans would say, how can we be spoiled? We haven't won but 1 Super Bowl or 2 Super Bowls in the franchise. So if you measuring success and a mark of a great franchise by just solely on Super Bowls, that is interesting. But the Ravens have been nothing but a winning organization. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. A lot has happened over the first 5 weeks of the season. The Ravens are 1-4, and it don't look like it could possibly get better. As a Raven fan, I should be upset. I should be panicked. I should be in my feelings. I should be, I done seen the tweets. I done seen the TikToks. I done seen how other Raven fans are reacting to these situations. But I'm steady. I'm cool. I'm calm. I'm collected. I'm not necessarily bothered. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm at that age and at that point in my life, I love sports. I adore it. And I want to talk about it on a bigger stage one day. So I'm at that point where because I talk about sports and I look at it in such a way, while I am a fan of certain teams, this thing don't really make or break my day anymore. You know what I'm saying? It don't, like when I was younger in high school and whatnot, just a young jit. Yeah, the Ravens losing. The Ravens starting 1-4 if I'm in high school right now. I'm heated. I'm heated. I'm treating everybody like shit. But this is a different me. I'm gonna be honest with you. But there's some things we gotta talk about. I'm gonna be honest. The fan base and the conversations around the Ravens annoy me more than the way the Ravens are playing. So if you don't listen to me before, you pretty much know how I feel about the Ravens or certain situations with the Ravens. And a lot of people, I'm gonna be honest, I done made a couple videos on the Ravens. The Ravens serve probably more videos. They get more airtime on this channel than any other team because I'm a fan of the Ravens. But the way I talk about the Ravens, I'm an honest person. I'm just honest on what I see. I'm honest in life with people. I'm honest when I'm talking about the Ravens. I'm not finna bullshit you. That's my whole thing. It's no point of you watching me and getting what you get from every other channel when they sugarcoat. That's one of the reasons I said it multiple times before. One of the reasons I don't watch a lot of Ravens content from other people is, for one, I don't want to be regurgitating their thoughts and having them as my thoughts. Even though I don't do that, I can watch shows and watch debates without thinking to myself, oh yeah, I'm going to steal that. But the biggest reason is I just think a lot of Raven shows and whatnot are corny, or like they're not honest about the team, especially if the team is having success. Bro, I don't care if we winning or losing. I'm going to be honest on what I'm seeing. And one of the things that I've said about the Ravens since Lamar Jackson became Lamar Jackson for the Ravens is that they have become comfortable with not being good enough in certain areas because Lamar Jackson will cover up the flaws. It's the same for the Chiefs. It's the same for the Bills. It's the same for the Bengals. Any team in this new era of football with these young stud quarterbacks, for the most part, aside from maybe the Eagles, all of these other teams with young, great quarterbacks, they done shown you on time and time again, we will take cheaper options, or we will settle for lesser than talent at certain positions because we believe Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Jayden Daniels, we believe these type of quarterbacks they are so good. They raise the level of talent for so many players around us that we can survive without being great in these areas. But what happened when that started to pile up? What happened when you go 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? And in year one, you maybe let one position get to a point where you should fix it, but you let it slide. The next year, you let 2-3 positions get to that point. The next year, 4 or 5 positions get to. So one of the things that is a detriment to a team, and also, and I really don't even like calling it a detriment, because to me, when you have a quarterback like Lamar, Pat, Josh Allen, it can't be a detriment to the team. You want those guys. I will religiously say winning is a quarterback stat if you are a critical thinker. Are all quarterbacks responsible for their team's wins? Absolutely not. You can argue up and down that they still play the most important part, which you would be turning that into a quarterback stat. But I am not foolish enough to not realize certain quarterbacks are helped out far more from the talent and the coaching around them than they are on pure talent making guys better around them. I know Carson Wentz at one point in time in his career was that guy. He made players, well, a lot of people will argue it, but I believe he was the type of quarterback that could make players around him better and could overcome situations. Now, Carson Wentz is more of he is still talented, but he is relying more on the players and the coaching and the system around him. Mahomes, Allen, Lamar are not concerned about a system around them. For the most part, they're not worried about the players around them because they believe they are so great they can raise the level of play and overcome any type of situation. It's the reason why they all have crazy winning records. It's the reason why Pat Mahomes is a multi-time Super Bowl champion. But it's also the reason why Lamar and Josh have yet to make it to a Super Bowl. It's also the reason why Pat Mahomes done lost 2 Super Bowls. Because when teams continue to say, we got these guys so we can be cheap in these areas, we can neglect these areas, well, eventually it come time to pay the toll. And you hate it. Well, some people don't hate it. But for Pat Mahomes, that toll came due in 2 different Super Bowls when his offensive line just could not block, when his defense could not get off the field against the Eagles. The toll became due because you can neglect it for so long. But eventually, a team will exploit those weaknesses. I've said it year and year and year after year since Lamar has gotten there. The Ravens are beating themselves. For one, matter of fact, let's start here. I've been critical of Eric DeCosta for years. People continue he make different moves that a lot of the media and the majority of the fan base adore and they congratulate. But I am just and people can say, oh, I done had Raven fans come at me and say I'm a hater. I'm not a real Raven fan. Blah, blah, blah. But I can tell you one thing. I don't talk down on Lamar Jackson. I don't care how bad the game he have. It's Raven fans who right now, when all things look bleak, will go crazy at Lamar. Oh, Lamar ain't this. He don't do this. If he did this for us. I can tell you right now, throughout this entire show, Lamar ain't getting blamed for nothing. Because it don't make sense to blame Lamar Jackson for anything. Not right now. Not based off of the things. We'll get to it. I've been very critical of Eric DeCosta. Because, and I had somebody tell me on TikTok, because it was this woman on TikTok who posted this tweet basically the entire Raven fan base for the most part saying, fire John Harbaugh, fire John. And I just think it's one of the most brain dead cries that I've heard in recent memory. Like, it's the same way I feel about, we'll get to it. But it's the fire John Harbaugh tweets. Because John Harbaugh's clearly the reason that the Ravens are in the situation they're in. They clearly the reason they haven't won a Super Bowl. Clearly. I mean, we'll get to it. So, my problem with Eric DeCosta. People continue to tell me how great he do this, how great he hire, and yada, yada, yada. But I've been critical of a couple things with Eric DeCosta. So let's start with the draft. Because I continue to see people praise him. Like I said, I was having a conversation with this young lady. Well, matter of fact, the conversation was short because she responded with a whole bunch of stats that did not matter, that was blaming John Harbaugh. And that's one of the reasons I really get annoyed with stats, man. Because anybody can read stats if you're a little bit literate. And so if you can read some numbers and whatnot, and you can figure out how they can make sense to you, or you have a thing to tell you that these numbers are good or bad, motherfuckers could just post stats all day, bro. And she just posted a long thread of just like a whole bunch of stats. And halfway through it, I said to myself, yeah, I see where this is going. And I responded, you just posted a bunch of stats that do not matter. None of those stats you just posted matter as far as to John Harbaugh. And even if you think any of them stats, they don't, bro. You just found a bunch of stats. And this was a woman. I said, just watch the games. And stop letting other people influence your how you watch the game. See, that's one of the things that annoy me the most. People don't even watch football games anymore. Like, people sit down and watch, but you're watching it to see certain things. You watching it to see mistakes made so you can blame John Harbaugh. Just watch the game. Stop letting other people influence how you watch the game. It's so little of real watching being done nowadays, bro. People watch with so much emotion and things of that nature. People don't watch to learn and to see why a team is great and why we truly bad and things of that nature. People just watch it off of this fan. 100 fans said this, so now I'm gonna watch it just so I can blame John Harbaugh and figure out ways why he sucked. Or I could be like Nick Wright. I'm gonna watch this game so I can see everything that I can use to say Lamar Jackson is not that guy. Like, the way people, and it's not just fans, like I said, Nick Wright, he get paid to talk sports. And he watched the games from a wicked angle. So I get it. I do get it. I understand that it has become a challenge, damn near miracle type workings to be able to watch a game and just watch it and truly watch it on your own without being influenced by outside sources. I get that. But as I'm talking to her, I say, yeah, I hear what you... I cut the conversation short because she presented some more stats. And I said, yeah, I hear you, bro. I respect your opinion. And I kept it moving. But a whole bunch of people done commented since that. Basically saying, no, they should fire him because of this and because of that. And we'll get to it. Trust me, we'll get to it. They'll probably never see this show. But I'm addressing as a whole the fan base that want to fire. Because I don't agree with John Harbaugh should be fired. I don't agree he should be on the hot seat. I think this new era of we should fire a coach real quick because of this. And some people say, well, it's not quick because John Harbaugh done been here. Bro, some of you fans are new fans. You haven't been, you like to bring up the old days of the Ravens, but you don't, all you know is Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. Most of you don't even bring up Terrell Suggs, who is a huge talking point tonight, by the way. But most of you don't know the real players who helped. And also RIP to Arthur Jones, one of the huge pieces in that Super Bowl in 2012 for the Ravens. The brother of John Jones and Chandler Jones, who played for the Patriots. You don't know the other dudes who was in the trenches. Most of you don't bring up Alohi Nana. Most of you don't bring up Jared. Most of you, Jared Johnson. Most of you don't bring up the McAllisters and all the other type of players that was on that Raven team. But you quick to say, oh, Ed Reed was right about this. Ed Reed done talked about what he felt about John Harbaugh in the beginning and how he changed. Like, the way you people view things to fit a narrative because you want to find a reason as to why the Ravens haven't won the Super Bowl or why they bad, right? It's ridiculous. It really is. And you don't even get paid to come up with these type of things. So it's interesting to me that people spend all day, all week, figuring out ways to blame John Harbaugh. You don't even get paid for that. So that's not your job to do. Like, you don't have to worry yourself with things like that. Especially when you just mimicking every opinion that you hear from other people that feel the same way as you. I had some dude on TikTok also say one of the most brain dead things that make me realize what this generation really is. He said, bro, your comment ain't even getting a lot of people who liking it. That should tell you something. I said, bro, if your opinion is only based off of how many likes or dislikes or how many people like it or agree with it or don't agree with it, if that's the basis of it, then how is that your opinion? How is that critical thinking? It's a monster nowadays, bro. I'm telling you. It should be a mandatory class. Like math, you have to take math every year. I really feel like it should be different levels of critical thinking classes in every single level, bro. Like, because the lack of critical thinking is unbelievable to me. So I shouldn't feel my opinion should be based in a certain way based off of how many people are going to like it. I mean, do you know how nutty that sounds? Like, fuck football for a second. My guy, just a life lesson. That's wicked. Anyways, back to ball. The people who consistently say this Ravens team, most of you didn't even watch the Ravens back in the day. Most of you only know the big names. You don't actually know the dudes who really, the other dudes who helped make this. I can't remember any of you fans talking about Ladarius Webb because you're new age fans. I never hear you guys talk about Jimmy Smith because you're new age fans. Carries, you're new age fans. And it's going to be some dudes that even I forget for the second, but it was so many different guys on them Raven teams. And this is why I talk about the Ravens from the perspective that I talk about them from, because I know what a great defense do look like. I've seen what a great defense look like. That's why I've been critical of the Ravens defense every year the last couple years. Eric DeCosta, in my opinion, has not drafted well. When I talk about all the others on those past Ravens defenses, Ozzie drafted dudes who fit the Ravens. See, we keep talking about play like a Raven, but Ozzie was drafting dudes who legitimately played like Ravens. The Timmy it was dudes on these the Courtney Upshaws, the Tim Jernigans. Like, bro, I'm naming dudes who most of you fans who are in high school and middle school don't even know, because the NFL and the media not going to talk about these dudes. You just had to be there. The others that you knew their names, other dudes in the NFL knew their names. They got talked about on talk shows for those moments because were they generational talents? No, but they were difference makers they did their jobs. The problem with the drafting of Eric DeCosta is he is not drafting players who do their jobs, who legitimately play like Ravens, who are big time players in their moments. Most of the time for one, I challenge anybody to not look at a depth chart of the Ravens defense and name me the starting linebackers and defensive linemen. You cannot name Kyle Van Noy or Roquan Smith. It would be a challenge to name the rest of them because it has become a challenge for me. That is how. You want to know why that's become a challenge? Because those dudes have not become, not just have they not become household names, they haven't become team-wide names. And because it's a rotating door, because you can't get dudes who stick in there, who play their role to the best of their ability, like those past Raven teams' defenses used to have. And that's a problem. That's why, and one dude on TikTok was talking about, how can you go at Eric DeCosta when he done had some of the greatest drafts? He done his job. I said, bro, outside of Kyle Hamilton and Zay Flowers, please name me the game-changing player that he has drafted. Specifically, like I was talking about, on the defensive side of the football. Because outside of Kyle Hamilton, he's not drafted any type of game changer. He has yet to draft a single defensive player outside of Kyle Hamilton that has played a significant part of the Ravens defense. Anybody who you think of that you could name that played, Ozzie drafted him. Because I know a lot of people are going to say Patrick Queen. That was an Ozzie Newsome draft pick. I don't hate Eric DeCosta. I don't got nothing against Eric DeCosta. I'm just from the outside looking in. All I can do is grade the draft picks that he has had, and it ain't that hard. Because when you, once again, outside of Kyle Hamilton, name the defensive player that has been drafted by Eric DeCosta that has played any type of significant part of the Ravens defense. Outside of Roquan Smith, name, and Kyle Van Noy, name the defensive player that he traded for or signed in the offseason that has played a significant part in the Ravens defense. These are areas that he continues to neglect because you have Lamar Jackson. Roquan Smith was a big one. I'm taking nothing away from him. That was a win for him. That don't... Perfect. Saint being fair. I said it about the Bengals. When you have Joe Burrow, when you know you're going to be winning games, one of the most important things for an organization is to be able to identify talent in college level and be able to draft talent. Because if you feel like you're going to be winning double-digit games with Joe Burrow every year, you're not going to be drafting too high. Your job don't stop at winning games every year. You still have to be able to bring in talent because the roster going to get pretty expensive with Joe Burrow and them receivers. You have to still be able to draft young talent out of college who you can get on cheap deals and play significant parts. That's one of the reasons that the Chiefs continue to be successful. Bolton was a great draft pick. Tranquil was a great draft pick. I always forget this other dude's name, bro, because it's a tough draft. But look at how the Chiefs have drafted. These ain't household names all around their defense, but look at how well they have drafted. McDuffie, they traded away one of the draft picks last year to the Titans. The Chiefs have done a phenomenal job at drafting up defensive talent, knowing the roster could get pretty expensive, and we ain't a huge market team, and we have a salary cap. We got to be strategic. And one of the areas where you don't really have to be strategic, you just have to be good at your job and understand what you're watching and how to identify talent and how that's going to work in my system, is when you scouting college players or when you going and signing these players on the cheap. I give it to DeCosta, but you don't get an award for trading for Roquan Smith. We knew how great Roquan Smith was, even though he ain't looked that great this year. He had areas last year where he didn't look so great. That, to me, and I done addressed this multiple times, and I'm going to address it again in the show, that's not on Roquan. I'm going to just put it right there, and I'll touch on it again. But Eric DeCosta, in my opinion, has been nothing near what Ozzie Newsome has been, because it's not just about winning. It's not just about the big dubs. Those little dubs that Ozzie continued to get is why he was a Hall of Fame GM. It's why his name was renowned around the NFL. Because it wasn't just about landing the Lamar Jacksons, even though we look at Lamar as the big dub, but he drafted Lamar in the last pick in the first round. Like, niggas skipped on Lamar. But it's those little dubs. It's those minor dubs that you don't look at the moment as a big dub, but later on you like, damn, that was a great pick by Ozzie. Look at this player. Look at that player. That's not happening with Eric DeCosta. But for some reason, people keep saying in themselves that he has been great in the draft. No, he hasn't. He got Zay. Yes, that is a great draft pick. Now, Lamar told you he wanted Zay Flowers, so that's one thing. But yes, Zay and Kyle Ham, I'm taking nothing away from you. But it cannot just be about the big wins. What are the other wins that you had in these drafts that nobody saw coming? Because at the moment, you can't name anybody outside of those two players. And I would love to say Rashad Bateman, but Rashad Bateman has had one significant year with the Ravens in his, 5-6 year career so far. So you can't even use him. And once again, he was a first round pick. So when people continue to give him credit for this drafting, I'm just very confused. Because not only has he only had 2 big hits in the draft, or really only 2 hits, but he has had no picks where you look at it and say, man, he drafted this dude in the 3rd, 4th round, and this has really been a significant player for this team. You haven't had it. You haven't. You haven't had that player that was drafted low in the draft that's been consistent for you the last couple years, that's done turned into a household name or a team-wide name, that's done earned a contract to be with the team and just keep grinding like the Courtney Upshaws, like the Tim Jernigans. You don't have that. You don't have a play like a Raven type of defense. See, a lot of people continue to point the problems with the Ravens. Let me just go ahead and knock this out. I don't blame the offense for any of the problems that are happening with the Ravens. Now, I do have problems with the offense, but to me, for the most part, the Ravens offense is not the problem. They had one bad night against the Chiefs. That was the worst their offense done looked in probably 2-3 years. That happens. That was eventually going to happen. But the defense is the problem. So now let's get back to it. So I talked about the drafting problem of Eric DeCosta that I have a problem with. And I talked about basically the free agent signing or the trading problem that I had with Eric DeCosta. But you see, another problem. And I really don't understand. Like, I'm baffled the fact that Eric DeCosta just keep getting the pass. And people keep saying, oh, he's great, he's great, he's great, he's great. But once again, outside of that drafting like a Raven on the minor players and whatnot, who has Eric DeCosta brought in at any level of, I kind of got ahead of myself, at free agency that has made a huge difference? Because you traded for Roquan. Which leads into my next thing. He keep identifying the wrong talent for the Ravens. Last year, you trade for Deontay Johnson. You did not need a receiver last year. You didn't. Your offense was fine as far as your skill positions. You didn't need a receiver. You needed a pass rusher. You done needed a pass rusher since Terrell Suggs left. But, going back to the first point, you haven't replaced Terrell Suggs in the draft. You haven't replaced Terrell Suggs through a trade or free agency. And clearly now, you should have identified that you need a legitimate pass rusher, but you still haven't identified that either. But you somehow last year identified that we need Deontay Johnson. In the offseason, you go and sign Awuzie and you sign Jair Alexander. I can let the Awuzie sign and slide. Maybe you did truly need a corner. I don't think that was as deep at the position that you needed, but maybe you truly did need a cornerback because you let go of Brandon Stevenson, who I didn't think was a great corner anyways and was getting starter minutes. We should talk about the depth of the Ravens at cornerback in all these positions, like I done said in the past. The Ravens have terrible depth at these positions, which you are seeing in real time. But you go sign a cornerback. Bro, the best part of the Ravens defense is probably the secondary. As bad as those numbers look, that is probably easily their best level of the defense at this point. Because they get no pressure on quarterbacks. And the linebacking core outside of Roquan Smith is tragic, to be nice. But somehow Jair Alexander. And you can say, oh, well, they signed him for nothing. You should have been trying to go sign a pass rusher that could possibly make a difference for nothing. Because you're still relying on Odafe Oweh, who they just traded, and Kyle Van Noy, who I said last offseason, as much as I appreciate everything Kyle Van Noy has done for the Ravens, the fact that he continues to be your leading pass rusher is a problem. Because this is not prime Kyle Van Noy, even though prime Kyle Van Noy wasn't even a pass rusher. And Kyle Van Noy, if he had Kyle Van Noy next to Micah Parsons with these numbers, even if you take 3 or 4 sacks away from him, Kyle Van Noy, the way he done played with the Ravens, if you put a Micah Parsons or a legitimate pass rusher beside him, that's when you would have got the most out of those numbers. The Ravens have gotten nothing out of these Kyle Van Noy numbers. I'm happy for Kyle Van Noy. They have gotten nothing out of these years of his sack totals being what they were. Because Odafe Oweh, who they just traded, who was another draft pick by Eric DeCosta, was a bad pick. I don't even know if he done had 20 sacks in his season, in his career to this point. Last year was the first year he done had 10 sacks in the season, and we celebrated that. Y'all celebrated that, because I didn't. I thought that was ridiculous to celebrate something like that when you was expecting him to have 10 sacks every year since he was a rookie. Oh, and when you look at, and once again, the neglecting of the pass rusher was very strange to me, because when you look at Odafe Oweh, it's very clear he don't out-muscle nobody. It's very clear. I don't know how fast he is, because his speed has never come into play when it comes to getting these sacks. He don't have a legitimate pass rush move. Some of the good pass rushers who can fool you and get paid big at least have one pass rush move. Odafe don't have a pass rush move that he can get wins with instantly. I call him almost Owe because he almost right there to make a play. But for the most part, Odafe Owe has not been a good player for the Ravens. He has been an average player at best. But Raven fans hype shit like that up. You don't look at players who was drafted lower than Odafe or around the same area as Odafe who give their teams far more production than what Odafe has given to the Ravens defense. The Ravens defense don't get turnovers in the playoffs. In the playoffs, you're usually playing against a top quarterback. When you decide that you're just going to let this quarterback get as many possessions as they can come up with, basically what your defense is doing is saying, our offense better be great because we're not getting any turnovers. We're not going to disrupt anything. We're probably not going to get off the field on third down for the most part. We're not getting you extra possessions. So you got to figure out how to win with the possessions that you get. And God forbid you give a possession or two away with a turnover. We're not going to even that out for you. You're going to have to figure it out. Maybe we play great and get a couple stops for you. Probably won't, though. But you trade for Deontay Johnson, or I can't even remember his name at the moment, and you sign Jair. You draft Malachi Starks, a safety. But what you needed desperately was a pass rusher who could help your whole secondary. Malachi Starks being great probably helps the secondary to some extent. I don't know if he was ever going to... I don't know that I look at Malachi Starks and think to myself, he's going to have an impact that Kyle Hamilton have on the defense. But sure, let's think the best. If he is great, sure, your secondary just got even better. What does that matter if a quarterback have all day to throw on you? Because your secondary, I don't care how good they are. They can't guard forever. You needed a pass rusher. You're drafting at the position where you can bet, you can legitimately take the best pass rusher on the board, and most people can't say anything because where you're drafting. But you took Malachi Starks. The best player in the drafting only works when you don't have very clear needs on your team. The Ravens don't have a legitimate pass rusher it is not a pass rusher on the Ravens in the last couple of years that an offensive coordinator comes into the game and say, we have to make sure we stop him. Like, we will devote all our attention and resources to stopping that guy. If he wrecks the game, we will lose. You only do that for Lamar and Derrick Henry last year. You don't do that for nobody on this defense. And now, and I said it, and the real shame in identifying the wrong players for your defense is Kyle Hamilton is a generational player. Defenses have found ways to just stay away from Kyle Hamilton. Go look at the Lions game. I don't know that they went to Kyle Hamilton at all that game. They found a way to take Kyle Hamilton completely out of the game, which makes sense because it's a safety. But even at the level of which Kyle Hamilton plays the game, they found a way to keep him out of the game. Because every other level on your defense is terrible. You draft Malachi Starks. You sign Jair. You trade for Deontay. Meta BK has not had, the year that got him that contract, hasn't had a year like that since. You can say, oh, he get double teamed and yada, yada, yada. But it is a severe lack of production from the defensive line. Big man retired in the offseason. I'm forgetting his name at the moment. Your run defense has become god-awful. These are things that Eric DeCosta should be able to identify. But because you have Lamar Jackson, you said, we'll be all right. Not realizing how truly bad your defense was. See, what you thought was they just blow games when we got the lead. What you thought was, they're not going to struggle like this all year. No way they put together back-to-back years where they started like that. No way. But I'm going to tell you the funny thing. Because it's not just Eric DeCosta that's a problem to me. When you have a defensive coordinator that brings absolutely fucking nothing to the defense, well, you got a recipe for a smooth ass whooping. The difference is you got Lamar Jackson. I would ask anybody that's a Raven fan or anybody who just watches the Ravens, what exactly is Zach Orr's scheme? And I want to start. Matter of fact, I want to go ahead and get this out of the way, because one of the games that I'm not about to play with Zach Orr or his Zach Orr fans. Oh, he don't got the talent. And Saint, you just talked about how Eric DeCosta didn't put the talent out there. So how could it be Eric DeCosta's fault? The Ravens, to me, were not superiorly talented. First off, let me put it like this. A lot of you Raven fans said this was the most talented Ravens team Lamar done had since he came into the league. So I just want to point that out. I've never at any point in time said no shit like that. I said this is the best offensive weaponry he done had. I ain't never say no shit about this the best team he done had. So that's the first point. But two, I don't care that about the lack of talent, Mike McDonald can argue he had lesser than talent in a lot of different areas, and his scheme still. Look at how great that defense was under Mike McDonald. He turned Patrick Queen into a good linebacker. He got the best out of Roquan. I don't know if Roquan Smith had a better year than the years he had with Mike McDonald. Look at how he put the people in position. He fooled you. He fooled you into thinking that Brandon Stevens was a great cornerback. Mind you, Mike McDonald didn't have this version of Kyle Hamilton. Rookie Kyle Hamilton looked a lot different than what Kyle Hamilton, Zach Orr has. I can argue Zach Orr has the better player on his defense than what Mike McDonald had. The difference. Mike McDonald clearly knew what he was doing. Now, I'm not going at Zach Orr. I am telling you that Zach Orr clearly don't know what he out there doing. And I'm not telling you that I would be out there knowing what I'm doing, but I'm not the one with the job. I'm just analyzing the situation, so please don't take it personal. It is very clear when you watch Mike McDonald call a defense, when you watch Zach Orr call a defense. It's very clear Mike McDonald knows exactly what he's doing, what he's trying to do, and he clearly has some understanding of what the offense is trying to do to him. You cannot say the same when you watch a Zach Orr-led defense. More times than not, dudes is out of position. It's a miscommunication happening. It's bad schemes happening. It's bad play calling happening. It's terrible situational football happening. In Zach Orr's first year, he basically had the same defense that Mike McDonald had. And see, when I look at Mike McDonald's defense, I can point to different players who look better in his scheme, who look better under his coaching. If I have a problem with John Harbaugh, it's that his faith, his love for his former player, Zach Orr, has led him to keep Zach Orr on as the lead defensive coordinator. And you say, if John Harbaugh said, well, is nobody I can hire that could be better at this right now? Yes, it is. Because just a defensive coordinator that could come in and understand what he's seeing from another team's offense and properly game plan and put people in the position to be somewhat better than they have been. Because that's a problem. I always say, more people get paid than just the quarterback and the head coach. Zach Orr get paid also. He ain't getting paid for you to just keep blaming John Harbaugh. He is defensive coordinator for a reason. So why am I blaming the defense on John Harbaugh when it's a motherfucker out there getting paid to call the defense and put players in a position to be better? See, when you don't have the best of talent, you still have a job to try to get the most out of that talent. And one of the ways you can get the most out of talent isn't making him run crazy laps so he can get better at speed and all that. It's putting him in a better position than otherwise he has put himself in throughout his career. That is not Zach Orr. I don't have a single problem with Zach Orr, the person. As a matter of fact, as bad as I think he is as a coordinator, I'm not telling you that he's the worst I've ever seen. What I'm telling you is when Lamar Jackson is your quarterback, you don't have time to figure out if he'll ever figure it out for a full 18 games and plus. You don't have that resource. You don't have that luxury if you're John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. You can't put up 40-something points, 30-something points every week and hope that Zach Orr's defense can hold him to at least 29. You can't afford that every week because you don't want to have these type of games every week. If Zach Orr, to me, clearly needed more time to learn under other defensive coordinators. He clearly needed time to do more work before becoming a defensive coordinator. And even if you say learning on the job is the best learning, or however that phrase go, you can't learn on the job when Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. You can't learn on the job when those are the quarterbacks of your team because those dudes don't have the time for you to get it right. Every single year they don't win is a lost year. That means a shit ton more than if Sam Darnold don't win this year. People celebrated Sam Darnold because he was good last year. If Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Pat Mahomes had a year Sam Darnold had last year and it flamed out the way it did, they getting crucified. Every year they don't win a Super Bowl is a lost year. So you don't have time for Zach Orr to have the season he had last year and figure it out at the end and have the season he done started with this year. You just don't have that type of time. If you're John Harbaugh, and I know he don't want to do it because that's his former player, but it's time for Zach Orr to go. You have to find a defense. And clearly John Harbaugh know how to hire coordinators. But this has been a terrible hire. It's no two ways around it. Like, one of the things I'm not going to do is have revisionist history. The first thing people like to say is, oh, Zach Orr and Greg Roman. Lamar Jackson was an MVP under Greg Roman. Greg Roman outstayed his welcome, which is what I continue to say is John Harbaugh's biggest problem. He allowed dudes to outstay their welcome before moving on. And that's one of, and if you want to really fire, if I was in the camp of firing John Harbaugh, my biggest reason to want to fire him would be he does not understand the urgency of this Lamar Jackson. Now, I don't agree. I do believe that he understands the urgency. I just think he is just too kind of a human being when it comes to this firing situation. But because he kept Greg Roman for so long, because you done seen enough for Zach Orr to let him go. Because he hasn't done any of those things, it almost make you feel like he don't understand the urgency of Lamar Jackson also. But one of the biggest reasons that I cannot go, so I done talked about Zach Orr, I done talked about Eric DeCosta, but one of the biggest reasons I cannot say, oh, it's time to, now if you one of them people who just feel like we done had him for a long time, so you just want some fresh air, I don't know why you want fresh air because you are not the person that's on the field playing. You're not the motherfucker down there that's getting paid to be coached by John. So I don't understand that aspect. And if you somebody who look at what Cal Van Noy said, see, I took nothing from the Cal Van Noy interview. I took it as he looking at the media like, bro, is this a serious question? And he answered it in a way of like, I cannot believe I'm being asked this dumbass question. But if you one of them fans who think to yourself, oh, we should listen, bro, Cal Van Noy has been a Raven for 3 years, bro. John Harbaugh has been a Raven for the better part of 2 decades, it feels like at this point, I believe. Miss me with that shit. But I'm not one of them people who wouldn't believe it's time for change or something like that. I just believe that's one of the goofiest things I hear on a regular basis. It's just time for change. I even had somebody tell me the Eagles eventually let go of Andy Reid because he just couldn't get over that hump. John Harbaugh has a Super Bowl with the Ravens. Andy Reid did not have a Super Bowl with the Eagles. Not to mention, Andy Reid had a better quarterback situation and better player situation. John Harbaugh at no point in his career had the offense in Baltimore that Philly had over there with Andy Reid. See, that's what I'm saying. People like to compare situations, but every situation is situational. Baltimore's offense and what their GM was bringing over was not what Philadelphia had. LaShawn McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, What was the other dude's name? Jeremy Maclin, I think is his name. Donovan McNabb, Michael Vick. Like, bro, what are we talking about right now? Deshaun Jackson and LaShawn McCoy is Hall of Fame players. Like, what are we talking about right now? And I'm pretty, bro, it was so many great players on those Eagles teams, bro. Like, it's not the same as the Ravens. Once again, when you think about the great Ravens teams that John Harbaugh had, the only players you dudes name is Ed Reed and Ray Lewis. That's it. I would love to see somebody win a Super Bowl with those Joe Flacco teams. Like, to me, John Harbaugh has not forgotten how to coach. One of my biggest problems is if you really want John Harbaugh, see, if I'm calling for a coach to be fired, a couple things have to be taking place. You have to have lost the locker room. Meaning players are just reckless. Players are saying whatever, doing whatever interview. Basically what was happening with Robert Saleh and the Jets when they was going at the quarterback like that. That's losing the locker room. You can even say if it's Doug Peterson and motherfuckers making shrines for the backup quarterback. If that's transpiring, that's one thing. You got a coach out there that just don't know what the fuck they doing. They put their team in no better position to be successful. They might as well be going out there putting their team in just as bad a position to win as a good team coach is putting their team in a good position. That is not happening. John Harbaugh is not putting the Ravens in a terrible situation. He is not. It's not John Harbaugh out there being out-coached every time he go out there. And no, that's not happening. Another thing, if you have the players and you just being out-coached and losing on the week and you get nothing out of those players, that's a problem. That's not happening. Once again, I don't know why people was talking about this Raven team like they were just full of studs. Because John Harbaugh is actually out there trying to figure out how to coach up a lesser talented team. But they got Lamar Jackson, so everything, Lamar, Zay Flout. You people are ridiculous. The fact that you just didn't go watch actual games and you just listen to the media tell you this is the best roster. Like, you can't even name a linebacker on the team outside of Roquan Smith. You can't name a defensive lineman. Most people couldn't even name Metabike. But if you somehow knew that and you wasn't a regular Raven fan, you definitely don't know another name on the defensive line. That's a problem. John Harbaugh is not lacking in any of those areas that I just said. Now, like, once again, if you just one of those people who just a vibes type of person, it's just feel like that time. It's just feel like we need fresh air. It's nobody that could convince you otherwise. But I don't operate off that. To me, that is an you want to call it vibes. I think that's emotional thinking. I'm not making an emotional decision like that. And I done had dudes on TikTok talk about he was about to get fired before Lamar Jackson. That's because they were just going to go in a whole different direction with the team. That wasn't because John Harbaugh wasn't good. That was a lesser than team. All of the great players on that team was gone. All of them. People keep saying Lamar Jackson saved John Harbaugh's career. Lamar Jackson saved the Ravens from looking like the Browns for a couple years. Because it was lesser than talent on that Ravens team when Lamar was doing what he was doing for those first couple years. But nobody said anything because everybody hated Lamar. So everybody wanted to see him fail. But niggas wasn't talking about Willie Sneeze out there. The Devin Duvernays out there. Those are the type of players that he was playing with. And John Harbaugh has been the coach, coaching these type of players up. But somehow all of a sudden it's John Harbaugh's fault and he should be fired. That is emotional thinking. Because John Harbaugh is clearly not the problem. To the people who done started blaming Lamar Jackson's not the problem. I don't even know why that is something that you would get to. But Lamar is clearly not the problem. You have a defensive problem. You have a defensive problem because you don't have the proper talent. And not only and I'm not just saying you don't have the big name talent. No. I'm not saying you don't got the Micah Parsons. Even though I am saying that as far as the pass rusher. Point blank period. You don't have a pass rusher that can make a difference for your team. You don't have a pass rusher that allows your secondary to win just because the quarterback got pressured quick and had to make a throw. You don't have that. You relying on scheme, which is a lesser than scheme now, but you're relying on scheme. You're relying on coaching, lesser than coaching and lesser than scheme now because Mike McDonald's no longer here. That's a problem. And you're telling John Harbaugh he needs to just figure that out. But that's not just a figure it out type of situation. And I don't care how. And one of the things that really annoys me when people talk about John, because you can clearly see the evolution John Harbaugh has had since getting with Lamar Jackson. You can clearly see his evolution in coaching. Just like you see Andy Reid's evolution in coaching. I can't predicate everything on have they won a Super Bowl yet. That's foolish. You don't get too many good results for anybody if that's the way you want to think about things. But it's a reason that these teams don't have stability and that it take wild shit happening for them to have down years. It's a reason that the Bills, the Ravens, the Chiefs are going to more than not be great teams every year because they have the head coach in place and they have the quarterback. But sometimes, I know this is crazy, Raven fans, sometimes other shit out of their control happens. Like your glorified, the GM that you glorify all the time, not putting the proper talent on the team. Not just this year, but for a couple years. Like, sometimes you make a bad hire at the defensive coordinator position after having hit after hit at the defensive coordinator position. So, when I think about this Baltimore Ravens situation, to me this is, and I don't think it'll get better for the Ravens in a sense of, will the defense just figure it out? I don't know. I think Malik start, and I said this after game one. It's just so crazy how I see games and stuff happen that make me think certain things. Like, I remember saying after week one, I said, bro, it was some plays that I saw Malachi Starks not make that I thought to myself, a decent safety would have made those plays. And then I was like, but I'm probably just overreacting because I'm a Raven fan and I watch defense so close. I said, I might be just tripping. Because Kyle Hamilton wasn't making those plays either. But the difference is Kyle Hamilton just looked terrible in his rookie season. Like, Kyle Hamilton just looked lost. It's just so odd how Kyle Hamilton went from year 1 to year 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just crazy. You don't believe. If you solely looked at Kyle Hamilton in year 1, you do not believe he is becoming what he has become. It's absolutely insane. But to me, I'm looking at Malachi Starks and I'm thinking to myself, even if he somehow turned it around and make the Pro Bowl this year, it's a wasted pick. You needed a pass rusher. Your defense is, they can't create pressure. I kept saying it after week 1 against the Bills. Your defense cannot put pressure on anybody. They allow every quarterback to stand back. I don't care what offensive line they playing against, good, bad, average. They allow everybody to stand back there and make plays. Literally the only thing that stops them is if the other team just got a bunch of receivers who just don't get open. But if you have a decent quarterback, this is why the Ravens have the losses to the type of quarterbacks they done had 1 to 2 times a year every year. Because the defense just don't put legitimate pressure. They don't have a Myles Garrett, a dude you got a game plan for, who can wreck a game. They don't have a TJ Watt. They don't have that type of pass rusher. They don't even have that second level pass rusher. They don't. The defensive line has become atrocious. They get no push. The trenches are terrible on both sides of the ball. And one of the things that really annoys the fuck, now I'm going to be honest, this really annoys me because I get so sick and tired of people when people was praising this offensive line. I done said for probably since Lamar got there, or really since Lamar started becoming more of a passer and I realized he was a pocket passer. One of the things I done said for a while now is this offensive line is terrible at pass blocking. They are good at run blocking. They seem to be great run blockers at times. More so, they look great when they got a good running back behind them. But this is not a good pass blocking offensive line. And what would you know? This year, they have shown how absolutely average to below average they are at pass blocking. Something I done said for the last 2-3 years. It didn't take this collapse this year for me to realize how bad the pass blocking was with these offensive linemen. Eric DeCosta has not truly committed. And see, this is one of the reasons that I got annoyed when he didn't just trade for a receiver or sign one in free agency, because you could have been using it. Because, bro, you got to make a decision. If you're going to use your top draft picks to go after Zay in the offseason, you got to figure out how to get a good some type of game-changing defensive players. If you're going to use it on defensive players, then in the offseason when you're making the signings through the draft, through free agency, then that's where you try to address the receivers. But not addressing your defensive or offensive lines basically at all. Because that's essentially what's going to happen. You done fooled yourself into believing that these dudes are better than they are because Lamar Jackson can escape danger, but he shouldn't have to escape that much. But you done fooled yourself into believing, and you definitely fooled yourself into believing, because if you truly look at it, you could have easily seen that these weren't great pass blockers. You can easily see your defensive line provides no push to the opposing team. You could easily see that you don't have a legitimate pass rusher who could just say, fuck scheme, I can win on my own. You don't have that. And now it's biting you in the ass. Lamar Jackson can't cover it up now because it's all hitting you at the same time. Your defense is ass altogether, and your offensive line is ass. They ain't run blocking, they ain't pass blocking. And you asking Lamar Jackson to go out there and make some shit shake with his receivers and tight ends. You wouldn't trade Mark Andrews. From the moment he had got hurt the first time and you saw how great Isaiah Likely was, you should have made a trade for Mark Andrews. I said it that year. Because I said in that moment, I said it is nothing that Mark Andrews does right now significantly better than Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely blocks. He a better athlete in every single aspect. He is better after the catch. He is the stronger runner, basically. Like, he will run motherfuckers over. He is the more athletic or savvy runner as far as like juking motherfuckers and stuff. That's when you should have traded Mark Andrews, before he could get to the playoffs, or before he could get into a car injury in the offseason and teams saying, I don't know if it, before he can start that season slow and teams question should they even trade him because he might have lost a step. Before he dropped that pass in the playoffs and teams say, oh, that's not the same Mark Andrews we trading for. You should have traded him before all of that. But you didn't. Same reason you should have paid Lamar early. But you didn't. But somehow, Eric DeCosta has been flawless. An unbelievable GM. This is what fans have fooled themselves into believing. But somehow, with everything I just said, which is factual, not opinions, John Harbaugh is supposed to figure out how to coach that. His GM hasn't addressed the defensive line, the offensive line, the linebacking core for his team. But he signed Jair Alexander. Oh boy. He made a trade for Deontay Johnson when Rashad Bateman was having a career year and Zay Flowers was balling and Likely was balling and Mark Andrews got on the heater. That was the perfect time to go trade for Deontay Johnson. And the response for most people is, but they didn't give up much to get him. That's not the point. You should have gave up not much to get a player who actually would have made a significant difference for your team. See, I talk about these little holes that you don't pay attention to them until they become huge holes, wormholes, if you will. You don't pay attention when it's the size of a needle. You only pay attention when it's basically the size of a swimming pool. That's the problem. You kept neglecting your defensive line. I said it at the time. I don't care that you let Patrick Queen walk, because Patrick Queen is not the level of linebacker that you would pay a certain amount of money to, if that's what he's looking for. But to not replace him, even if you wanted to bring him back on the cheap, well, for one, I'm not finna have revisionist history. I'm not finna be mad that they didn't bring Patrick Queen back. Even though the fact that you didn't, well, no, that's not your fault. That is your fault. But you drafted him to be one thing, so he's not probably gonna accept you trying to pay him to be something else. But Patrick Queen clearly was not the linebacker that you thought he was gonna be when you drafted him. But Patrick Queen did show you the type of linebacker that you should put beside Roquan Smith. You failed at every aspect of that. You've yet to replace Patrick Queen. And I just want you to know how crazy it is that I'm saying that you haven't replaced Patrick Queen. And that's not a shot at Patrick Queen. But Patrick Queen is not a Fred Warner, Roquan Smith. I'm not saying you haven't replaced. Literally, you have yet to place Terrell Suggs. That's a Hall of Famer that I'm telling you you have yet to replace. But the reason I'm saying Terrell Suggs is because you have had gone years without replacing. Bro, Terrell Suggs left the Ravens damn near a decade ago, and you have yet to replace him. That is a problem. When you look at all these other great teams, one of the biggest reasons for this, you can point to the great pass rusher. I even tell people all the time, how can I get mad at the Buffalo Bills for going out and signing Von Miller today? They didn't know he was going to get hurt when they signed him to that contract. All they knew is that we need a game-changing pass rusher, and we just saw him and Aaron Donald be game-changing and win the Super Bowl for the Rams. We got to get that. How can I be mad at that? That's not the GM of the Bills making a misidentifying talent. That's a freak injury happening and you losing out on that deal. See, if that was the case, how could I get mad at that? That's not the case for Eric DeCosta. Let's stop playing. That's not the case. I even try to give him some credit for the Jadeveon Clowney move. But why wouldn't you just keep bringing him back? Why wouldn't you just get... Because Jadeveon Clowney, to be completely honest with you, he's not a pass rusher either. But he give you far more than what the other dudes. It's not a player on that defense, not named Roquan Smith, or it's not a player on that defensive line, in my opinion, that has given you more in recent years than what Jadeveon Clowney gave you just 1 year. Because nobody on your defensive line is even disruptive. They don't even disrupt plays like Jadeveon. Because if Jadeveon Clowney not going to get there, he at least going to try to disrupt the play. Now, he ain't that in his career anymore like he was in his youth. But you don't even have guys that are like that. But it's John Harbaugh's fault. Oh, Lamar Jackson holds on to the ball too long. How can I kill Lamar Jackson? And for one, Lamar don't hold on to the ball too long. It's a complete different. See, I don't think some people understand truly what holding on to the ball too long is. People will see Lamar try to make a big play and think that's holding on to the ball too long. And that'll happen like once or twice a game. Bro, holding on to the ball too long is when quarterbacks legitimately damn near every time they drop back, you can count on it. If he dropped back 6 times, 3 of them times, he going to hold on to the ball too long. And he might not always get sacked. But boy, if he had to just let this... See, holding on to the ball too long is not this dude running wide open. What holding on to the ball too long is if dudes is getting open, but the quarterback just holding that ball, waiting for that one big play. If it's 3rd and long, of course I'm holding the ball to try to make a big play. Like, I get it. Motherfuckers hate Lamar Jackson. I don't get that, but I get that's what people are at. But no, Lamar Jackson don't hold on to the ball too long. If you want to look at dudes who legitimately hold on to the ball too long, I done talked about these certain players multiple times. Russell Wilson got a tendency... I don't even care that he held on to... Russell Wilson, to me, just takes some of the worst sacks that I've ever seen a quarterback take, bro. But I just think Russell Wilson is a sack magnet. I'm damn near comfortable saying, and Aaron Donald is my favorite defensive. Aaron Donald, for me, is a top 5 player I've ever watched in my lifetime. I don't know if he is that, if he didn't get to play in a division with Russell Wilson, who just takes so many sacks, bro. He will run into a sack. He will skate into a sack. He'll moonwalk into a sack. It's insane the way he will take sacks. Then you got guys like C.J. Stroud. I said for a long time, C.J. Stroud just hold on to the ball too long. Like, his offensive line is bad at times, but C.J. Stroud is used to throwing and hitting big plays in college. In his first year in the NFL, he was hitting big plays. So it is to put him in a position where Deshaun Watson just held onto the ball so long at time. I do think Deshaun Watson, one of his injuries probably was because he just held onto the ball so long. Because he always thought it don't matter how long I hold onto this ball, I can escape any danger. Because I'm the most athletic person on the field. I think Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen at times can do that because of their ability to run, but they are not quarterbacks who I look at and think to myself, They just hold on to the ball far too long. They take back. Hell, you fooled yourselves into believing this was a good offensive line because Lamar Jackson is so great. You can't hold on to the ball too long and think that a quarterback got a great offensive line. Because at some point in time, people would have been blaming his offensive line. It wouldn't have always been, oh, this is a great offensive line. It's very clear when he it's plays where he dropping back and damn near immediately it's got pressure in his face and all around him. It's gotten to the point now, he don't have anywhere to escape nowadays because the pressure is coming from everywhere because his offensive line can't hold up anywhere. On the left side, on the right side, coming up the middle. It don't matter. But you want me to sit here and blame John Harbaugh. Listen. Raven fans, it might get better, it might not get better. Who knows? Who knows? If Lamar Jackson don't play, it ain't getting no better. I can just tell you that right now. But I also would like to end it with telling Raven fans this. There was a group of Raven fans, a portion of the Raven fan base, who at one point in time kept saying, we just as good with Snoop Huntley. And I was the same dude saying, he is not a quarterback, bro. He does not make any... He does nothing great that a quarterback does, and he is nowhere near the runner or athlete that even Lamar is, if we're talking about that aspect. But people have fooled themselves into believing that too. So, if this is a fan base that can fool themselves into believing that Tyler Huntley is a starting level quarterback, I mean, it was motherfuckers actually disappointed when the Ravens had let him go the first time. It's still Raven fans who truly believe that the GM should have fired John Harbaugh and hired Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator. They shouldn't have looked at that as our head coach is great at hiring coordinators. They should have looked at that as they should have replaced him with Mike McDonald. This is that type of fan base. This is a fan base who don't watch Lamar carry this franchise on his back. And somehow, now, oh, well, you know, Lamar hold on to the ball too long. This is that type of fan base. This same fan base that when Lamar Jackson was going through his contract dispute with the Ravens, it was different white dudes that continued to get online, on the internet, on the global web, and go at Lamar Jackson. Well, he ain't as good. I remember one of them saying he ain't as good as Dak Prescott. That's the type of Raven fans you're dealing with. So, once you understand that, it makes a lot of things crystal clear. With that being said, I appreciate you for joining me on another episode of Kicking It with Saint. Hope my boy Lamar get healthy though, man. Hope he get healthy. Anyways, hope you had a dope stay. Tell somebody fuck with him. Tell somebody you love him. You can be anything in this world, so choose to be kind to somebody today. Like, subscribe, share, comment, tell a friend to tell a friend. Until next time, I fuck with you. I love you. Saint out.
I kept saying like, bro, so mad, bro. It ain't gonna be all right.
I got the moves like hot sauce. Lil' mama taking the top off. I'm laying down getting topped off. After this, she know she getting knocked off. I know she loving the money, so I keep on thumbing and thumbing. She say she horny when she taking shots, so I keep them coming and coming. Now I'm putting dick in her tummy, scoop her up like I'm raking her something. You would think shawty red track, the way that she running and running. You getting dumber and dumber, you out here chasing the bone. After she finished from giving me dome, the Uber is taking her home.